Hey everybody, Chad Hasty here, host of the Chad Hasty Show, which airs weekday mornings 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 a.m. KFYO. We're back for another year of videos here on YouTube, and in fact, we'll probably be doing more videos throughout the year. So go ahead and subscribe to our KFYO page, and you'll know whenever we upload new videos. A lot to get into, of course, that's been happening, but want to take a little bit of time to talk about what's been going on in the country of Iran. A lot of protests have been breaking out in different cities across that nation, and now people are wondering what the Trump administration is willing to do when it comes to the so far peaceful protests that have broken out in Iran. The headline from the Washington Post: how far is Trump willing to go on Iran amid widespread protest? Headline from Politico: as protests rage in Iran, Trump backs the demonstrators and blames President Obama. President Trump's administration backed the anti-government protesters, according to Politico, on Tuesday, seizing an opportunity to criticize not just a foreign government that the White House has framed as chief foe, but also the administration of Barack Obama. Trump tweeted out that the U.S. is watching the ongoing anti-government demonstrations across Iran, blaming the nuclear deal struck with the support of former President Obama for lining the pockets of the Iranian government. Quote, the people of Iran are finally acting against the brutal and corrupt Iranian regime. All of the money that the President Obama so foolishly gave to them went to terrorism and into their pockets, the president wrote on Twitter. The people have little food, big inflation, and no human rights. The U.S. is watching. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, said the U.S. would call for emergency sessions of the United Nations Security and Human Rights Councils in New York and Geneva, respectively, to address the Iranian government's crackdown on protesters. She said the Islamic Republic's suggestion that the protest had been fueled by outside influences was, quote, complete nonsense. Quote, this is a precise picture of a long-oppressed people rising up against their dictators. The international community has a role to play on this, Haley said at a press conference at the UN in New York. If the Iranian dictatorship's history is any guide, we expect more outrageous abuses in the days to come. The people of Iran are crying out for freedom. All freedom-loving people must stand with their cause. Of course, a lot of people are looking back to 2009 and seeing that the U.S. really didn't do anything to help the protesters at that point. What's interesting to note in the Washington Post piece is that some protesters say this protest, while not as large, you have maybe thousands of people participating all throughout the country. In 2009, you had millions of protesters, and mainly in the capital of Tehran, that were protesting the Iranian government. But now you have thousands of protesters in different cities. It's the working class, if you will, people who are struggling, people who are tired of the dictatorship in that country. And they say this is a more significant protest because of that. The question is, how far is President Trump willing to go? Is the U.S. going to seek regime change in Iran? I doubt that we'll see something like that, but I do think that this actually plays to President Trump's hand a little bit when it comes to the nuclear deal that he's no fan of, and that really the U.S. gave away a great deal to the Iranian government. I do think that this will step up more pressure from other Arab countries on Iran, and that's really how this should be. It should be other countries that are putting more pressure on Iran, not just the United States. I don't think that it would be wise for the U.S. to send in the military to help out the folks in Iran. I don't think it would be wise to topple the regime there as of right now. I do think that what the U.S. should do and what other countries should do, including Europe, the Europeans have been very silent on these protests, is to help the people as much as possible, to try to get their message out, and to back the people in covert ways, possibly, of rising up against the Ayatollah and rising up against the Iranian government. At the end of the day, and just like we've seen in other countries, including here in the United States with the U.S. Revolution, it is up to the people of that country. They have to take control of their country for a revolution, if you will, to really work and to really be successful. It has to be by the people, not a foreign government getting involved. But it is something that is important to watch, important to keep an eye on, and it is something very important, I think, for the United States to be supportive of for the people as they are crying out for freedom in Iran. Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time. News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. Have a great day. We'll talk later.